what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch on the Marvel trading card thing that we talked on last episode. I don't really have a graphic prepared for this, but what I wanted to do is we talked about last episode. I was talking about how I wanted to make some selections to cards to submit to have graded. Right now, here's my dilemma. Everyone who's watching, my dilemma is turned into this. After making my selections, the dilemma is this: PSA has got so many submissions that they're processing right now that the wait to have something PSA graded might be extremely long. And there's also a lot of talk amongst the card community and stuff that the fees actually for grading on PSA is definitely going to go up. Apparently there's a new management company or a new owner investor group that actually bought or took ownership of PSA number one, the company that does the grading. So there's a lot of talk that the fees are going to go up. So I've been torn asking myself, PSA 9, PSA 10, those are the cards that are selling for the highest value. Do I want to go that route, right? Do I want to go that route, or do I want to maybe look at because CGC actually, they do card grading as well. So I'm still debating, everybody. I'm still debating if I'm going to try and send it to PSA or if I'm going to have CGC actually grade these cards. All right, so these are the cards I selected. These are from the 1990 Impel Marvel Universes Series 1. These might be a little hard to see because they're in the plastic, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to be touching them with my fingers anymore at this point. So I'm going to try and show these off as best I can, actually in the plastic here. These are my top 5 that I selected. These are the ones I think that are in the best condition, that have the best centering, that also potentially might be the most valuable because the cards themselves, not necessarily the characters, but the cards themselves are in incredibly good condition. All right, so let's go back. Let me work backwards because I started to go with the money. Let's not do the money. Let's work backwards. All right, so this is one of the ones I selected. This is actually the X-Men team card. This is from the 1990. Again, this is the original Marvel Universe. This is one of the cards I'm going to submit actually for grading. This card is it's like dead center. The corners are real super crisp and sharp. See the corners there? They're really good. The printing on it's really nice. If this comes back with a high grade, I might actually keep this just because I'm such a crazy X-Men fan. But this is one that I'm going to submit out for grading. But this is one that if it comes back high, I might actually keep it for myself. Now, this is another one I've selected. This is another one that's in incredibly good shape. This is from Spider-Man comics. This is the Lizard. This card, again, the printing's really good. The corners are super crisp and sharp. It's centered incredibly well on both the front and the back. And I think this is one of those cards that it's just in such good shape. So this is one of the ones I'm going to submit. Now, this is one I might actually put up for auction, or I might make available for people to buy if it actually comes back with a high grade. Another one that I selected is actually from the Fantastic Four, The Thing. Again, this is the same thing. This card is in incredibly good shape. It's got great centering. Again, like all these cards have got really great, sharp corners. The printing on it's really good. This is one that if it comes back at 9 or 10, I would sell this again. Because again, my thought is on these cards, if I can sell them and get the money, I'm going to use those to help hopefully pay off part of this equipment and stuff that I bought recently for Kirby Tees. Now this is one of those ones, if it comes back high, I should sell it, but I would really struggle with that. But this is the Wolverine. This is actually the patch version of Wolverine. Same thing. This card is in incredibly good shape, incredibly sharp, crisp corners. But this is another one that I'm going to submit to have graded. If it comes back a 9 or a 10 or a high grade, this is another one I would probably sell, even though I would really struggle with that. And then this is the big one. This is probably the card I have that's probably worth the most. It's in incredibly good shape. This is Venom. This is the centering on it. I can't really put it dead center because it glares too much in the camera, but it's dead center on the front and the back. The corners are super crisp. The printing on it is incredibly good. I think this one would probably be about a 9 or a 10. So this is another one I'm going to submit. And again, like I said, I'm lamenting. I'm torn between submitting to PSA or like CGC or something for these cards, just because I'm a little nervous about the weight for PSA. But I have more cards than these selected. But these are going to be. This is where we're going to start. So these are the ones I've selected, everybody, that I'm going to be turning into grades. So you guys are going to be able to follow along in the process. I'm going to go through all the steps, but these are the ones that were selected. And we're going to kind of follow the process on how this goes. And we'll see when I get the box back, we'll open it up, we'll take them out, and we'll see what the grades were that they came back. Again, like I said, I think these are all probably 9 or 10s. I think every single one of these 5 cards are going to come back possibly as a 9 or a 10, but when they come back, we'll do that on the show and we'll see how that actually turns out. And in addition to that too, I mentioned last episode, I've been ordering prior to this, I've ordered boxes of cards that are starting to come in. So as the cards come in, I'm on talk with Eric and see what he thinks. I was thinking about maybe doing box break videos for the show. But what he and I have yet to really discuss that too much. But as these cases come in, I'm going to go through the cards, and see what's in there. So this is one of the ones that I bought. This is Young Blood. This is the Rob Liefeld series. I know, Rob has a bit of a bad standing with certain fans and collectors and whatever. I mean, I get that. I actually worked with Rob on Grifter with DC Comics many years ago now. But I've always liked Youngblood and his work on X-Force, and I've always been curious about these cards. I know these are comic image cards, but I'm gonna open this case up and maybe go through this, and we'll see if we do a box breaking video or not. But this is the first case of cards that came in. I bought this prior to the craze, so I got a really, really good deal in that box. And so I'm going to go through that one too, and we'll see if I get anything interesting out of that. Even if we don't do a box break video on the show, I'll show those off on the show.
It's funny. I went ahead and put up, the video that we did. It's the clip from our previous live broadcast. I did a clip on YouTube of just this segment where you were talking about the Marvel trading cards, and it's a phenomenon right now, and it's been a phenomenon for our YouTube because we've gotten tons of views on it. I'm sorry, look, we had a glitch. We've got tons of views on it right now. I think it's over 800 views. It's only been out for 3 days. I didn't even do the clip until Sunday. It's got a bunch of comments. And it's interesting because one of the comments on there, somebody was talking about the fact, because everybody's talking about what the true value of these things actually are, because the way I titled the clip was boom or bust. You know what I mean? Is this really going to be something where potentially people can make a lot of money, or is it just another bubble, you know what I mean, that's going to burst and a lot of people are going to be out a lot of money? And it's going back and forth. A lot of people are going both ways about, they're supporting one position or the other. But one interesting point that somebody was making, because I was getting into the whole idea of, of a collectible being either, quote unquote, undervalued. And what does that really mean? There's another YouTube channel out there that was specifically talking about how you shouldn't even use that term when it comes to anything collectible. You know what I mean? Hey, Gap Stargate, it's good to see you. It says, hey guys, been crazy, but love your show. Gap Stargate, it's good to see you again. We appreciate you commenting, and you are now eligible for some of those trading cards. You said you love the trading cards. Well, now you're eligible to possibly get some of those. But if you're someone that's into trading cards, maybe you can chime in on this topic, that specifically what I'm talking about. So they're talking about value, undervalue. There's a YouTuber out there that I've just now started following because of all this stuff, because of all the trading card stuff, and he seems very knowledgeable. Because he's not just into trading cards. He's into comics. He's into rare coins. I mean, he's into all sorts of stuff, in terms of things that have value, antiquing, all that stuff. Really interesting guy. And one of the things that came up was somebody was talking about the fact that for a lot of people, they will not actually get these cards graded because they don't want to break the boxes. And the reason they don't want to break the boxes is because of the wild variety in the printing quality. And the fact of the matter is, you can open up a box and destroy your value. I thought I would just bring that up because you were just talking about doing an unboxing. And there are some people that are saying, don't do that. Now, I'm not trying to give anybody advice. I'm just saying that was brought up in the comments. And I found that interesting that someone was bringing that up because I've seen multiple people talking about that issue where they'll show, in fact, there was another channel where a guy was showing the difference in the quality of the same cards. Like he had duplicates of certain cards. It's like, this card is worthless because the borders are all off, because the printing sucked. So there is this interesting part of this story in that apparently the quality of these cards, regardless of whether you preserve them or not, the quality of these cards varies greatly. A lot of people say the printing was done very like haphazardly. So there is the possibility that if you break open a set, because you're trying to find those perfect 10 rare cards, that you might actually destroy the value because you have bad quality cards, even though they're in perfect condition, even though they're nice and crisp, they've never been touched by human hands, because the printing quality varies so much on these cards. You have to be careful.
Well, and here's kind of just to throw this out there. It's important to remember that myself, I am slowly becoming a bit of a speculator, right? At this point, I am mostly a collector. I mean, that's kind of been my thing. Like, for example, this is just some of my Marvel cards. This is just some of them. This is a 3-inch binder. It's completely full. Okay. This is just some of them. Okay. I got a whole shelf of this stuff. So for me, I mean, I'm a collector first, right? And I'm a speculator second. So I'm doing the speculation play on these because, like I said, some of these cards are actually worth more than some of my comics actually are. And it's a lot cheaper and easier to maybe get some of these things graded and kind of stick my toe into the water, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing with the card thing. And then number 2, I already have a bunch of these cards. Now, these ones I'm submitting, I don't have multiples of these, but these are the ones that look like they're in the best shape. And there's more than the ones I showed you guys. Okay, I showed you the top 5. There is way more than 5 that I'm going to be submitting. Okay, those are just the top 5 I showed you all. But I've got a lot of cards I'm planning to submit. Okay, to get graded. Some I'll be keeping, and then others I do plan to sell. Okay. Now the deal with the box break, which is this Youngblood thing, these cards are probably not worth nothing. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm not being disparaging Rob at all. I'm just saying it's like I don't think there's not a lot of pent up desire and demand. I don't think for these Youngblood cards. Okay. This is my morbid curiosity. That's what I was talking about the reason I discovered this is because I was looking at this stuff because I've always been curious about some of these cards. I didn't buy any of these Youngblood cards back in the day. So I am just genuinely curious about these cards. Okay. So I'm going to open these. My goal is to hopefully get a set or almost a complete set. That's what I'm hoping out of this box. In addition to this, too, I've got Jim Lee Wildcats coming. I've got some DC Cosmic teams coming. I've got a whole bunch of different stuff that's going to be coming. So the goal, hopefully, like if Eric thinks it's fun, we'll do some unboxing videos for people to watch, and we'll see what I get out of there, and we'll see the print quality on them. Like, and
I hope you understand I wasn't specifically talking about those cards. I was just, somebody brought it up in the comments.
No,
about the fact of the box, that breaking the boxes can be a bad thing. So I just wanted to caution people that might be trying to do it themselves. To find that quote unquote golden card, you are taking a risk because the quality is not good. Hollywood Jackson says they were made in China. I don't know if that's true, but that's what he says. So I'm just telling you that a lot of people, it's funny, Dave, because, we talk about this sometime, like whether we should be kind of like trying to follow trends or, you know what I mean? Or we should be trying to do something different that other people aren't doing. And this particular subject has really been like, the timing has been like perfect somehow. You know what I mean? In my mind, like the timing has been perfect. Like we hit it where people are still thirsting for information on this and are really interested in this topic. And there are people that want to make money. There are people that are interested in collecting. I mean, it runs the gamut, right? But there are people that are looking into putting in serious money into this stuff right now. I mean, I'm talking like the guy that I was looking at on YouTube. This is a guy, like I said, he deals in rare coins. He deals like, in antiques, and he's sitting there talking about it. Now, granted, he was basically telling people like, don't do it. You know what I mean? It's far too speculative to get into. But I just find it interesting that this topic is really blowing up right now.
Well, and see, in addition to that, too, I'm going to show there are other things I'm going to be submitting too. Like, for example, I'm a big Batman fan. So I've got here this card of Chris O'Donnell Robin from the Batman Forever set. I'm a big Batman Forever guy. This card is about perfect. So I'm going to try and submit this one. And then I'm also going to submit this one. This is actually a Val Kilmer Batman card from Batman Forever. Sorry, the ones that are shinier really catch the light. But this card is almost in perfect condition. So I do have other things besides the Marvel cards that I am planning to submit. Now these are not going anywhere. These are going to go out, get graded, come back. They're going to stay in my collection because they're for me. Because I'm a Batman Forever nut. I've talked about that before. I actually have original art from one of the Batman Forever t-shirts from back in the day because I actually did the artwork for that. So I have a fond connection to Batman Forever. So for me, these are going to go out and come back and they're going to stay, right? But as I get these boxes and as we do these box breaks and stuff, we're going to continue to give away cards here on the show because I'm going to have a plethora of all these extra cards to give away for people. So we're going to continue to do this as we go down the road. But I think it'd be interesting. You all can kind of follow along with me and see the upside, the downside, and whatever else, as I embark upon this journey. But like I said, for me, I'm not investing a lot of money in this at all. This Youngblood box I got before the speculation really started. I got it really for an affordable price. I mean, I hardly paid nothing for it. And then these other Impel Marvel Universe cards, these are cards that have been in my personal collection since I was a child. It's just luckily I've taken really good care of them because I'm a obsessive compulsive psychopath. So they're in really good shape because I am who I am. So that's why I have them. Because I've seen some people where they're taking my advice that now's the time to sell them and they're putting those cards up. And man, some of those cards are beat to hell. And they probably are worth nothing. Because they haven't been taken very good care of. And that's part of the side of this too, because that same guy you're talking about, Eric, I've watched some of his videos as well, and part of the deal with that is too, and I've seen people who are on the card side, like the sports card side,
right?
And they're saying, well, the deal with it is, it's not because everybody's saying, well, there's so many of those cards, but it's not that there's so many of those cards. The question is, how many, like Gem meant, how many 9 PSA graded cards out there? How many are there, 10, graded cards out? Like, how many of those are there actually really in existence? Because that's
the other point that I've heard made is that there's a backlog in grading these cards. And that's what's also creating the value. And that, of course, is a bubble within itself, because once the grading authority catches up with all these people that are waiting in line to get their cards graded, the supply is obviously going to increase. You know what I mean? Because right now, my understanding is that there is a big backlog on grading these cards. So it's going to be really interesting seeing what you go through and how long it actually takes for this process to go through the whole thing. I think you're muted, Dave.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I don't want to take up too much more time here.
No, this is a hot topic, Dave. This is a super hot topic. So, yeah. I mean, and I think a lot of people are interested. I think honestly, like I said, there are people at this point that are looking to like, hey, can I make a quick buck? I mean, it's like Wall Street bets. We touched on that, primarily because, we've been trying to focus a little bit on AMC and the state of the movie theater industry. But, it reminds me of kind of almost the same thing in a way. A lot of this stuff, it is speculative. It is a bubble to some extent. But then a lot of people feel that these cards are very undervalued and that they actually there is a lot more worth there than there has been, in the last few years. The other side, again, is that I've heard is that there is a huge supply of these cards. There's a lot of them in the boxes, You know what I mean? There are claims that basically people are saying there are warehouses full of this stuff. So just something to be aware of, you know?
Yeah, and we'll see how much of it actually comes on the market once the grading goes through. And you know, the flip of that is, or the other side of that is that how many of those are actually super high grade? Like for example, okay, because you want a 9 or you want a 10. Okay, this is a good example. This one isn't in a sleeve because I pulled this out, but this is a Dazzler card. I mean a dagger. I'm sorry for cloak and dagger. Dazzler, it's dagger. Anyhow, but if you, it's hard to maybe tell here, but this card, if you look at it, it is basically too far to one side. It is not.
Yeah, I can tell. I could actually, I actually know what to look for now because of some of these other videos. You know what I mean? And I saw that right away. Is that the border's off, right? The border.
And it's bad on the back too. Let's see. So that's the thing. But other than that, if you look at these corners are super sharp because I've taken really good care of these cards. I don't know if you can tell, but these corners are almost perfect. And this card has been kept in really good shape. This is the first time I've touched this card again since I was a child when I first got it. So this card is in incredibly good shape. So like on the comic book side, like if I was to get this graded and it came back as a 9.5 or 9.4 or 9.6, you know what I mean? It's close up to a 9.8. It still has enough value, you know what I mean, that it is a worthwhile collectible, right? But the problem with the card side is if it's not, you know, maybe a 10, it's maybe not even worth the trouble. You see what I'm saying? So, and that's the deal. This card's about perfect. So that's my only kind of retort is, you know, this card looks perfect, but it's clearly not a 10. So how many actual 10s are there out there in the world? And then when you start looking at that, there hasn't, like, for example, I made the comment before that, you know, for people who want to collect these characters and, you know, they're looking for something fun to get into, this is kind of a fun hobby to get into because, you know, a lot of these sets like that Youngblood, you know, I'll just go ahead and tell you guys right now, I paid $5 for that box. Okay. So, I think I paid more for shipping. So, you know, that box, I'm going to have a lot of fun opening it up and going through it and seeing what's in there and trying to put together a sets. Because for me, I'm a collector. It's a hobby, you know, but if I can pull something valuable out of some of these other boxes we get coming in, you know, cool. You know, you pull out a hologram. Awesome. You know, if the hologram's in good shape, you might be able to get that graded and get a couple bucks out of it. But the trick is a lot of these cards that are out there, the printing on them is pretty bad. I was shocked at how many of my cards actually are off center pretty bad. I thought more of them were better than they really were. And so actually my baseball card collector friend and I, we got together and he was showing me the difference and we were looking at some of these and I was kind of surprised. Now I do have enough that it's worth, you know what I mean, still, you know, seeing and going through the process. But actually more of my cards were in worse shape than I thought they were when you look at them from a centering standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, the condition of them is still good. The printing is still good. But a lot of it did have some issues, and there were minor things I would have never thought of, you know, and that centering is really important. That's why when I'm showing these cards I'm turning in, they're not the obvious cards. If you notice, there's no Hulk in there. My Hulk is off center. My Thor is off center. My Spider-Man, my Cosmic Spider-Man, it's way off center. There's no point even turning it in. My Wolverine has some printing defects in it. So, you know, they're not even worth turning in. But the cards that are, luckily the Venom card is. The Venom's worth turning in. But it's, you know, it's Lizard. It's one of the other cards. Dormammu is one of the other cards I'm going to turn in. You know, they're characters that people are familiar with, but they're not the obvious top tier characters. Right. So we'll see. We'll see what they come back as when I get them back. So, yeah,
I can totally see that. And I did want to just throw out there that somebody did comment about apparently Fortnite cards are also becoming a big collectible out there. I told them I don't know anything about that, but somebody was commenting on the YouTube that apparently that's a thing too. So if you're just interested in this kind of stuff, it's something, I guess I'm just saying it's worth looking into. You know what I mean? Because you never know. Because I think some of those cards are still being produced, and you can still find them. You know what I mean, in the wild, at retail, that kind of a thing. You're not going to be having to pay a premium price.